So in order to take an Orb of Eternity, first of all you need a Resurrection Orb on one of your characters. It's either going to cost you 25 points or 30 points, depending on which character actually takes the Resurrection Orb. Now there are only 4 models in the Codex that can take their orb. That is the Catacomb Command Barge, the Necron Lord, the Necron Overlord, and the Locust Lord. So what does the Orb of Eternity do? In your command phase, you're going to have a +1 to your reanimation rolls for a selected unit within 6 inches of the bearer. So normally your reanimation rolls are on a 5+, it will now be on a 4+, and done of course in your own turn. Now you can't be stacking the Orb of Eternity with a Canoptic Reanimator, because there is a restriction on a +1 or a -1 to the reanimation protocol's roll. Now the reason they've put this in place is because there is a way of putting a negative modifier on our reanimation roll, and one of those being from the Death Watch. They've got a stratagem which is called Overkill for 1 command point, and they can pretty much -1 to our reanimation protocol's roll. Now the best units to be using the Orb of Eternity on are the larger units such as your Necron Warriors or your Necron Flayed ones, because they come in units of up to 20. They're less likely to get wiped out by a single attack in a single phase. Now it's also not too bad on 2 wound models such as your Lich Guard and your Death Marks, because 2 wounds isn't too bad to bring back. It gets a little bit more dicey though when we're talking about 3 wound and 4 wound models. So let's just break down some numbers to show you exactly what the Orb of Eternity can do. So if you're talking about Flayed ones for example, and you're trying to bring back 12 Flayed ones that are dead from your previous turns, on average you're going to be getting 6 of them back, because of course it's a 4+ roll on every single one of those dead Flayed ones. So 6 back from an Orb of Eternity, whereas if you're just using the Resurrection Orb on its own, it's more likely going to be 4 on average as opposed to 6, because now you need a 5+ roll. So with this Relic you're getting 2 additional Flayed ones back, which are 10 points each, which actually in this example doesn't make it worth it really. But if there's more than 12 casualties, maybe there's 16, 17 casualties, then yeah, the maths are going to be different there. Now this is of course going to increase when you're talking about Necron Warriors, because they re-roll 1s with their reanimation protocol's roll. So if we take the same numbers there, those we did with the Flayed ones, you're trying to bring 12 warriors back, you're going to get 6 of them back with a 4+ roll, but 2 of those dice on average will be 1s, which you get to re-roll. On a 4+ you bring 1 back, so there'll be an additional 1 right there, which will in fact total 7 Necron Warriors, and they're 13 points per model, which is in fact 91 points gained just from using this Relic Orb. Now if you're going to be using it on 2 wound models such as your Death Marks and your Lich Guard, it's going to be a little bit harder to do, because first of all their max starting strength is 10 as opposed to 20, and of course you need to bring back both of the models' wounds as opposed to just 1 wound because they're 2 wound models. Now if you're attempting to reanimate 6 Lich Guard models, you're going to have 12 dice to play with. On a 4+, on average you're going to get 6 successful rolls, which will in fact bring back 3 of your Lich Guard there. Whereas if you had the normal Resurrection Orb and not the Relic Orb, you're only going to be bringing back 2 of them. Now in this example the Lich Guard costs 25 points per model, so it will just about pay for itself there. Now as for 3 wound models such as your Scorbate Destroyers, it gets even more trickier, because now you need to bring back 3 of the wounds, and the max unit size is 6 as opposed to 10 or 20. So the likelihood is they're either going to be getting all wiped out in one single phase, or you don't get enough dice to play with to actually bring models back. So if you're trying to bring back 4 of your Scorbate Destroyers, with 3 wounds each, that's going to be 12 dice again to play with 6 of them being successful rolls on average, that brings you back 2 models. Again, without that Relic, it will only be 1. Now if you apply this to the 4 wound models such as your Locust Heavy Destroyers, this is the worst case scenario, because there's only a max starting strength of 3 models in a unit, and you now need to bring back all 4 wounds as opposed to 3, 2 or 1. So this now does become really challenging. So if you've lost 2 of your Locust Heavy Destroyers, that's going to be 8 dice to play with. 4 of those are going to be successful dice on average, so you're going to be bringing back 1 single Locust Heavy Destroyer, which isn't actually too bad when they're 50 points a pop. Now without the Relic and just using the Resurrection Orb on its own, with a 5+ roll, you're not likely going to be bringing back a single model. And finally, Canoptic Scarab Swarms, they're also 4 wound models, but you can max out the unit size to 9, so your chances are slightly better in this case. If you lost say 6 of them, that's now 24 dice to play with. On a 4+ reanimation roll, that's going to be 12 on average successful dice rolls, which will bring you back 3 Scarab bases. They're 15 points a model, so that's 45 points. You've spent 25 to 30 on the orb, and you've also spent a CP for the Orb of Eternity Relic. So there is an additional variable to this, which is the Protocol of Undying Legions Directive 2. So you get to reroll 1 single dice roll for your reanimation protocols. So this is particularly useful with your 2 wound models, maybe even your 3 wound models as well. There's always those situations where you're just 1 dice short of bringing back that Lich Guard model. So in this situation you get to reroll 1 of those dice, and now it's on a 4+ roll, so it's literally a 50-50 on whether you bring one of those models back or not. Isn't always the case, maybe you're 2 dice short of a Scorbate Destroyer, and yeah, no matter what you do with the reroll, you're not going to bring it back. Now some problems with this Relic is First of all, the fact that you may not be able to even get to use it on the planned target of the actual orb itself. Maybe that unit gets destroyed before you even get a chance to use it, or maybe your character gets destroyed before you get a chance to use it as well. But even if you do get to use it, there's a risk-reward system where the longer you actually leave that unit to get depleted, the more chance you've got of actually bringing some of those models back. Whereas if you use it too early and you've only lost, say, 3 models out of 20, yeah, you might get 1 or 2 back, but you've used it too early, haven't you? You want to use it when the lowest model count is available, but that's where it gets risky because you could completely lose the unit totally and then you're not going to use it at all. But kind of going full circle here, I think the best unit to be using this on is the Necron Warriors to reroll the 1s. The only problem with Necron Warriors is the fact that you've got to babysit the unit. They need quite a lot of investment, not just from the unit alone, but you need character models with the My Will Be Done, maybe a Royal Warden, just to keep them active, keeping them up and running. So having the Resurrection Orb as well as the Orb of Eternity on top of that is just more expense, when you could just get, say, a 5-man unit of Immortals to fill out your troop selection. So for me, with this Orb of Eternity relic, I'm going to be giving the score of 2 out of 5 star.